Hi, YouTubers. Um, I didn't really have a big plan for this video. I know that when I started my channel, I called it Relaxing Review of Cool Collectibles. So far we've kind of just looked at books, and those are cool, and the ones I have are collectible. But I do have some other things that I thought some of you might enjoy seeing. Most of them, like my books, are from a time when I was very small, and most of them were my actual toys, and some of them I actually found them through the years, whether it was at a junk shop or a thrift shop or estate sale or Goodwill. I kind of haunt those places because I like old things. So having said that, I think I'll share a few things with you that some of it might look familiar. I never really know who my audience is, who might be watching this. So some of the things I talk about, you may already know if you are someone who grew up in the 60s or the 70s. Or you may have heard your parents talk about some of these things. So anyway, all that to say, let's take a look at a few pieces that I picked out to talk about today that I think are kind of cute. And bear with me because I'm still kind of learning my camera, just a little. This piece, super cute. It's seen better days because it's got a little bit of wear and tear on the stickers. For people that collect these old toys, they use fancy words like lithograph. So the lithograph on this toy is a little to be desired, but to get a little closer, I think most of you can make out that that says Fisher Price Toys. And of course it has 6 bottles inside and a little carrying handle, of course. And I remember these because they were one of the first toys I think I ever had. And of course each bottle can come out of the carrier, which, oh my goodness, you know, if you've been around little ones, one of their favorite things to do is take everything out of a container and put everything back into a container. So, of course, that is one of the main one of the main fun things to do with this. Another thing that you might not realize about this was that this toy was very much kind of an everyday toy for a lot of us, because way back when we used to have delivery service for our milk. You didn't go to Kroger or Publix to buy your milk or your butter or your, I don't know, sour cream. You had the milkman. And I'm sure we've all heard lots of jokes about the milkman. Anyhow, back then you would leave a box outside of your front door, and most of the time they were metal, big, about like this, where you could have fit 3 or 4 glass quart bottles, because that's how you got milk back then, is in the glass quart bottles. And if you were lucky and your mom was so inclined, you might actually get a chocolate quart bottle, which of course we would all fight over the chocolate milk. They also brought orange juice. Um, Not so much to us. I don't remember getting orange juice all that often, although, of course, people did. Um, the other thing I liked about this too was that, of course, you could take the tops off and you could put anything you wanted. Most of the time, this would turn into a bathtub toy. And you can imagine all the hours of opening this and filling it with bath water and then dumping it out and putting it back. So, all that to say is that when I think about when I was little, this is one of the toys that always comes back into memory. So, I hope that if that's the case for you, that this was fun to see. Let me see if I can fit them all back in. Goodness. They are getting a little fragile. And of course, my orange juice and my chocolate milk. Let's see. I don't think there's a year, but just in case, let me look and see. Sometimes they would have put a year that they made such a thing. And I don't see it on this one. Not this time. Anyway, Fisher-Price was a great toy company. They still are. They still are. But they had so many great toys. I actually had a couple other ones that I'll show while we're talking about it. This one is a little more rare maybe than some of the other Fisher-Price toys. Some people, I'm sure, had a big barn, big like this, and the doors would open and it would make a moo sound, and it had a tractor and it had little people, little peg people, and those were called little people sets, and they were great. But this little piece is something separate. This was actually a little lunchbox. It was pretty accurate. It even came with its own little tiny thermos. Little tiny thermos. And very much like the other Fisher-Price toys. Oh, my camera's moving around again. Can you see that? Anyhow, the lithograph on this one shows a cow looking up into a cat, way up inside of the top of the silo. And I'm sorry if that's not very clear. That's a little better. That's a little better. And this was a fun toy too, because when you were little, if it was too early for you to be a school child, this would be one of the toys that you could use to pretend you were going to school. And so I had this, and I adored it, of course. And this one does have the year. Again, we're going to get super close. Goodness, there it is. This one was made in 1962. And it's really super cute. You can see the sides. You can tell how well made these toys are too when you think about how old they are. And things like, these little plastics, you'd think that those would just break like that, but they never did. They always held up. That's another thing I always liked about Fisher-Price. So I've kind of saved the best for last. I'm not sure that this was my family's favorite toy, but it was one of my favorite toys. And this one will be quite a mystery for a lot of people, I think. This is called a Fisher-Price Pop-Up Pal Chime Phone. There are so many things out of date about this toy. I don't even know where to start. But for its time, it was very advanced because most of us back then, our telephones had the rotodial, the big circle dial where you put your finger in and you would dial the number and it would click, 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 click back. And then you pick the next number and you would dial. And woe be unto you if you picked the wrong number to dial. You would have to hang up and start over. So when the push button came along, that was such a revolution. And this was one of the first toys that came out that had the modern push button telephone. And you can see the handset. This is very similar to what a real handset looked like with the real phones back then. And of course you had your cable because you couldn't go very far away from your phone. I can remember how often trying to stretch these cables to these darn little cables. It had a handle so you could carry it around, which could be to the delight or to the irritation of those who were around. The fun part I thought about this phone was, let's see if I can get it to work. That made me jump every time, and I had this phone for years. So let me show you who's inside. She's kind of a creepy little thing. She's a doll, and she looks just like those little people that I was talking about before. If you happen to have had a little people doll set like the farm or the house, they had these little tiny people that look just like her. So she looks huge in comparison to all those other little toys that we had. So it's so much fun because it was like a Jack in the Box. And of course I liked it because it was a telephone, and little girls, well, not just little girls, but a lot of times little girls like telephones. I loved them. And it looked like a real telephone. And this actually was mine. And you can tell I loved it because I took very, very, very good care of it. It almost looks new, and I have no idea how I managed to keep it this nice, considering how many kids probably had their hands on it. So anyway, oh yes, there's another picture. I forgot about this one. Here, this sort of explains the whole thing. It shows, darn, let's see. It shows the little girl talking on the phone and the pop-up PAL chime phone, and it's got this musical, I don't know, target. And down at the bottom it shows a boy and a puppy, and it gives away the secret because there's the little girl that pops out. So anyway, that was kind of a it was kind of a disappointment if you didn't know what it did already. A super cute picture. And this one, can you see? I keep wanting you to be able to see these, and I'm probably, there it goes. 1968 for this Fisher Price. So that was pretty much all the toys I really had to show you today. I do have more. I've got others that I'll dig out that I think you might find interesting. And for now, I'm just really pleased to show you these because you don't see them all that often, and hopefully this will help keep them in people's memories. And who knows, maybe some of the toy companies that see the value in some of these little toys will bring them back. I know kids now mostly just like to be on their electronics, play with their iPad and so forth, but I think that there's a value in having a real toy that you can play with, and a real toy that you can take apart and put back together and pretend. So anyhow, that's that, and I appreciate you visiting with me this sunny afternoon. And as a matter of fact, I've now put off the inevitable. It's time for me to go and plant some of my flowers. So thank you for allowing me to take about a 20-minute break and visit with you all. And I'll look forward to visiting with you next time. Thanks.